Welcome back, everybody. This is episode 2 of my Bloodborne Arcane playthrough. We're starting off in central Yarnum here, and we're going to go ahead and talk to Gilbert, and I'm going to let that dialogue play out, and then we're going to get right into the episode.
Oh, you must be a hunter, and not one from around here either. I'm Gilbert, a fellow outsider. You must have had a fine time of it. Yarnum has a special way of treating guests. Well, I don't think I could stand if I wanted to, but I'm willing to help if there's anything that can be done. This town is cursed. Whatever your reasons might be, you should plan a swift exit. Whatever can be gained from this place, it will do more harm than good. Pale blood, you say? Never heard of it. But if it's blood you're interested in, you should try the Healing Church. The church controls all knowledge on blood ministration and all varieties of blood. Across the valley to the east of Yarnum lies the town of the Healing Church, known as the Cathedral Ward. And deep within Cathedral Ward is the old Grand Cathedral, the birthplace of the Healing Church's special blood, or so they say. Yarnumites don't share much with outsiders. Normally they wouldn't let you near the place, but the hunt is on tonight. This might be your chance. Across the valley to the east of Yarnum, you'll find the Cathedral Ward. Deep within lies the old... That's your best bet if it's...
So Gilbert says a little bit extra stuff there at the end, which I kind of cycled through by accident. Not really meaning to. He's actually one of my favorite NPCs of the game, mostly because he's going to give us one of the things that's going to help us out with our arcane playthrough, the flame sprayer later on. But I just like his story. He was an outsider who came to Yarnum and wanted to get treated with blood just like you were, but it didn't end up working for him, and he ended up just staying sick, and he holds up in this house, talks to you through the window, and kind of tries to guide you a little bit during your playthrough to kind of get you started out. We'll go back and talk to him later on because there's a lot more to his story. Kind of has a little bit of a tragic end, like most things in this game does. And he's interesting too, mostly because of the fact that you find out why he's actually still sick, and it kind of gives the life cycle of what exactly happens after you treat yourself with this Yarnum blood that everybody craves so much, and that you came to Yarnum specifically to get. So right here we're going to fight the Cleric Beast. Normally in other playthroughs I would typically just go right in there and start wailing on him with whatever weapon I'm using at the time. But because this is an arcane playthrough, I decided to stick with the oil urns and the Molotov cocktails for most of the fight. And I didn't realize how strong these things could actually be when combined with oil urns. I always just kind of use them as, supplementary damage, but I never really added the oil urns to it. And having a higher arcane, of course, all of this stuff scales with it, so it's really nice to see the damage that I can already output. And I kind of whiffed on a few Molotovs here and there during the fight as well. For some reason, I guess my camera aiming is not as great, even though I was locked on. And he actually almost gets me there, but I managed to get away. If you look, I thought I missed him with that oil urn, but it actually hit his back left leg. Because as you can see with this, it actually does that extra little bit of damage that the oil urn lets it do. So I thought that was kind of interesting. But that's pretty much it for that Cleric Beast fight. It went really, really quickly. Sometimes I actually have trouble with the Cleric Beast, surprisingly. I mean, he's not a hard boss by any means, but sometimes he can just get you locked into getting attacked by him, and he can just knock you out within, a couple of hits at this point in the game, especially because I haven't done anything to increase my health yet. But we're going to come here, back to the Hunter's Dream, purchase some items, and we're going to talk to the doll and level up a little bit more.
Very well. Let me...
I thought about getting some more endurance right off the bat, but as you can see, I ended up just putting another point into Arcane. And my goal is to get as much Arcane as possible in the early areas of the playthrough as I can. And we're going to warp back to Yosefs Clinic because we're going to go up here and we're going to talk to Yosefka.
Are you out on the hunt? Then I'm very sorry, but I cannot open this door. I am Yosefka. The patients here in my clinic must not be exposed to infection. I know that you hunt for us, for our town, but I'm sorry. Please. This is all that I can do. Now, go. And good hunting. Are you still in need of something? But I have nothing more to offer. Please, try to understand my position. I can only pray for a fruitful hunt. Are you still in... But I can only...
So Yosefka's blood vial is something that you can get from her, and you can only carry one of them at a time. It's a little bit more potent than a regular blood vial, but it goes on your item list. So you use it with square instead of triangle, and it kind of serves as one of those items that's just kind of like an extra healing thing. Sort of like the Hidden Blessing is in the Dark Souls games. We're actually going to go and we're going to fight Father Gascoigne, so I'm getting all of my items ready for that fight. Like I said in the first episode, I like to get the tiny music box because I like using it against him because it makes him freak out. And I think it's cool to show that, in any playthrough. I think it's cool to watch him freak out. In general, I like it when games put boss mechanics in there that are optional, but kind of give you a leg up in the fight. Especially if it's something that is hidden as decently well as the music box itself is. If you don't go into the sewers and climb up that ladder, you might not actually find the music box and you'll be without it. Father Gascoigne is obviously very beatable without it. He's very easy to parry. Even in his beast form, he's pretty easy to parry. Though I don't think I actually parry him in his beast form. Not in this playthrough anyways. And here I'm kind of trying to learn how to parry these guys. Later on I come back and I farm for some blood shards. Because I do go and upgrade the weapon a little bit more. I didn't want to get both of these guys at the same time, but I do like how they were synced up on their attacks there. I thought that was pretty cool looking. And this is actually a really good place to farm for blood shards with those guys because they're relatively close to a lantern and you can just bolt Hunter's Mark back to the lantern, come back up here, they're going to be here. Almost like sitting at a bonfire in a Souls game. And of course there's another blood shard there. And we're going to take some more of these enemies out, and I will see you back in the Hunter's Dream. I did want to add that this is a really good place if you ever run out of blood vials or run out of quicksilver bullets. I can count on maybe one hand how many times I have not gotten drops from the enemies inside of that building. So it's a very, very good place to farm those things if you ever run out. And we were able to collect enough bloodstone shards to get our weapon to +2. If I had farmed a little bit more before Gascoigne, I probably could have gotten it up to +3. But I wanted to go ahead and actually just get the fight started and get that over with so I can get to the next area of the game. And now we reached 20 Arcane already, which is pretty good considering that we're only about an hour into the game and we've only fought one boss. And this is why I wanted to open up the shortcut in the first video, because it's so much easier to just run over to the elevator, take the elevator down. You run along the right side here, and then run along the left side. This boulder will pretty much always miss you. It always typically goes to the right side. Another good place to get some extra quicksilver bullets and blood vials if you've run out before you actually get to the boss here. And I love this intro to the boss. One of the things that I really loved about Bloodborne the first time I played it was just how all of the bosses pretty much have some sort of intro to them. You can see them before you fight them, or they have some sort of cutscene that introduces them.
Beasts all over the shop. You will be one of them, sooner or later.
And what a great way to introduce a boss. Especially one that is on the same level as you, pretty much. He's a hunter, just like you. And he has gone blood drunk and sort of insane.
What's that smell? The sweet blood. Oh, it sings to me. It's enough to make a man sick.
And as you can see, I mean, he's really easy to parry, but for some reason, I just wasn't getting the timing down on the extended axe portion of his fight. this is why I like to use the music box. Even if I don't do it here, because he turned his back to the railing there, you can get a really easy visceral attack on him by moving to his back, performing a charged R2, and then going up to him and hitting him. But I ended up finishing him off with a Molotov cocktail and a few slashes with the saw spear. Altogether a pretty easy fight. I don't typically have a lot of trouble with Gascoigne. I did when I first played the game. This was one of the, I don't want to say walls that I ran into. I think that title would have to go to the Bloodstarved Beast, at least for my first playthrough. Bloodstarved Beast, I used to try to parry all the time, as opposed to using the tactics that are a little bit more well-known at this point of the game's life cycle. But Gascoigne was pretty challenging the first time that you face him. He is, a human character just like you. He's quick. He's very aggressive towards you sometimes. And of course, being a hunter, Gascoigne can parry you. So that adds a whole dynamic to the fight that a lot of players probably aren't really prepared for the first time that they fight him. I know I wasn't.
Oh, you must be a hunter. Very sorry. The incense must have masked your scent. Good. Good. I've been waiting for one of your ilk. These hunts have everyone all locked up inside, waiting for it to end. It always does. Always has, since forever. But it won't end nicely. Not this time. Even some folks hiding inside are going bad. The screams of women folk, the stench of blood, the snarls of beasts. None of them's too uncommon now. Yarnum's done for, tell ya. But if you spot anyone with their wits about them, tell them about this here Erden Chapel. They'll be safe here. The incense wards off the beasts. Spread the word. Tell them to come on over. If you wouldn't mind. I know I shouldn't be asking you, but if you happen upon someone while hunting, tell them about this here Erden Chapel, if they seem worth being told, that is. Oh, and I do sincerely hope they are.
So that guy sounds really creepy, but I promise he is harmless. This is one place that you can send NPCs that you meet if they ask for a safe place to go. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to open up the other place that we can send NPCs to.
Oh, well, hello. Splendid. Let me ask you a small kindness. You're soon off to hunt, I presume? Then, if you find any survivors, tell them to seek Yosefs Clinic. Upon my Hippocratic oath, if they are yet human, I will look after them. Perhaps even cure them. This sickness, these beasts, they are not to be feared. This time the night is long. I may be trapped here, but I should do something to help. I'll even offer a reward for your cooperation. Tempted? Well, off you go then. If you find anyone who's still human, send them straight to Yosefs Clinic. You can assure them There's no place safer. Please, do me this service.
So Yosefka's changed her tune a little bit. And I tried to get a good view of her through the little crack in the window there, but unfortunately I couldn't really get the angle right.
You needn't concern yourself with me. I'm afraid I'm of little help now. But before I take this, I make no use of it, but perhaps you. What afflicted me was incurable, but this time gave me hope. Their strange blood bought me time. I was most fortunate, unharmed by the plague of beasts. I can even die human. Don't you worry about me. Don't you...
So if you go back to Gilbert after you fight Father Gascoigne, he will give you the flame sprayer. And we're going to make good use of that in this playthrough here. We're going to go over to the sewer area and we're going to talk to the old lady that lives in the house over there. When we passed by there before, we could hear somebody kind of calling out for us. And that was her. We didn't stop and talk to her at that point because we couldn't do anything at the time. So now that we have some places open that we can send her to, we're going to go over there and talk to her, and we're going to send her somewhere and help her out.
Do you know of any safe places? I've heard I have. Shutting up indoors isn't always enough. Well, if you hadn't have got off your arses, you wouldn't be in this mess. You're obligated to help me, you hear? So what, Lovely? Are you going to tell me you're not? Well, what do you know? An outsider worth a lick of salt. Well, don't just stand there. Don't you have work to do? Go slit some throats. Get this mess done with. Oh, enough with you. Trot along. Chop, chop. Oh, enough with you.
So when you run into somebody who you can send somewhere who needs help, you can either tell them to go to Odin Chapel or you can tell them to go to Yosefs Clinic. Different things happen depending on which area you send them to. There are certain people that you want to send to Yosefs Clinic, and there are certain people that you want to send to Odin Chapel. Of course, you can send everybody to Odin Chapel, or you can send everybody to Yosefs Clinic. And unfortunately, I can't show both outcomes of it in this particular playthrough. But if I go into New Game Plus on this, then I'll make a supplementary video talking about, what the differences are and things like that. I know at this point of the game's life, it's pretty much well known what exactly happens with all of them. But I do like talking about it because I think it's a really cool aspect of this game in particular. And Dark Souls 3 ended up doing it pretty well, which was one of the things that I really liked about that game. And obviously you could only really send them back to Firelink Shrine. There was no other place that you could send them to. But once they got there, there were certain NPCs that you could send out to go do things for you, which I felt was something that they kind of held over from Bloodborne with the multiple places that you could send the NPCs to. And I thought that was really cool. And this is where I started to farm blood shards a little bit more, just so that I could upgrade some weapons a little bit.
Welcome home, good hunter. I must have drifted off. What is it you desire? Very well. Let me... Farewell, good hunter.
And I decided to put an extra point into skill, just to round it off at 10, just because this weapon also does scale with skill a little bit. So we are going to put some points into skill eventually. But I think the next thing that I really wanted to level up was my stamina, so that I could do a few more attacks, run for a little bit longer. Wasn't exactly sure what this enemy was doing. I thought he was going to attack at one point, and then he just didn't. And then they both end up coming and beating the shit out of me. It's not too surprising that it happens with as little health as I have right now. There's also actually a set of clothing that you can pick up down in the sewer area that I did not get, and that gives you a little bit more defense, and it doesn't really help that much. And we're going to pick up another set of clothing after we leave Odin Chapel. But I did want to mention that if you do explore the sewers a little bit more, you're able to find another outfit that you can have. I think it's the Hunter's set. There are two different types of Hunter sets that pretty much have the same stats from what I can remember, but just have a different look to them. A lot of the clothing in this game, even though it does provide a little bit of defense here and there, I don't really find it to matter that much in the grand scheme of things. So I don't really pay much attention to what I wear in this game as opposed to what I would do in something like Dark Souls. This is something I wanted to show off, where if you did want to come and farm these two guys and not have to worry about potentially dying, you can lure them down here. They cannot go past this doorway, and they'll just kind of stand there and let you hit them. But that is going to do it for this particular episode. We'll come back in the next episode, and I believe we may fight Blood Beast and maybe go into one of the Chalice dungeons. So I will see you next time. Have a great day.